Legal identity for people with disability. PEKA or Pemberdayaan Perempuan Kepala Keluarga, a national network organization that works with women-headed households, has, with the support of the AIPJ Legal Identity Team, implemented disability-inclusive activities that target children with disability and their families in promoting and providing an integrated service to families to help their children get birth certificates. First, the starting point. AIPJ Legal Identity Program identified in its revised strategy that was developed in 2012 activities to promote the inclusion of children with disability. The activities in the strategy to promote and support disability inclusion have taken place in 5 provinces covering 20 districts. They include raising awareness of disability through training provided by Puskapa or Center for Child Protection, University of Indonesia, to AIPJ's civil society partners. Inclusion of disabled people organizations or GPOs in multi-stakeholder forums or MSF with civil society organizations or CSOs and government. Research to obtain baseline data on birth registration of children with a disability and from families with parents who have disability. Supporting the development of disability-inclusive and accessible services, and including disability-inclusive requirements and targets in the contracts of AIPJ's partners. Puskapa and AIPJ, with inputs from PEKA, completed baseline research which established that children are 5 times more likely to have birth certificates in families if a parent has no physical disability compared to those families where there is a parent who has an identified physical disability. Further research, however, is still required to determine the extent to which children with disability have a birth certificate. The research also identified the barriers that people with physical disability face in accessing legal identity registration services. Registration generally takes place in provincial capital cities and requires meetings with a number of different offices and officials. Barriers that people with disability face in accessing the services includes the limited availability and the cost of accessible transport. And for people with communication impairments, the difficulties in interacting and communicating often with 3 different sets of officials to get their documents. PEKA is one of the AIPJ partners in legal identity. The AIPJ program has supported the paralegals in the PEKA network to complete baseline research and facilitate and set up mobile and integrated services for birth certificate registration, or Pelayanan Terpadu or YANDU. PEKA made commitment in its scope of services and the contract it has with AIPJ to include children with disability in its activities. Second, progressing access to birth certificates by children with disability. What took place? Research. PEKA took part in the baseline research process. This helped some staff in the organization to become more aware of the challenges and needs that people with disability face, both in relation to access of services and the stigma and discrimination that certain impairment groups, for example, people living with leprosy, experience in some communities. To promote access to birth certificates by children with disability, the Legal Identity Team made the decision to locate some of the integrated services for obtaining birth certificates at special schools for children with disability, or Sekolah Luar Biasa, or SLB. The team recognized that children enrolled at these schools are less excluded than many children with disability who did not attend school, which means that the students of the SLB are more likely to already have birth certificates than those children with disability who are not attending school. the team felt targeting the schools was a valid starting point for inclusion in the program, as it was more likely to be an accessible location for families with children who have a disability. The AIPJ team acknowledges that this strategy is unlikely to reach adults with disability who are less likely to have birth certificates or other forms of legal identity. Disability Awareness Training. Puskapa includes one session on disability awareness. In the training, it provides partners on legal identity. Staff from PEKA have participated in the training with other CSOs and DPOs. PEKA has also met with the DPO SABDA that focuses on the rights of women and children with disability in Yogyakarta in December 2015. This helped meeting the staff to gain a better understanding about the issues and challenges faced by people with disability and opened up the opportunity for future links and exchanges between SABDA and PEKA. PEKA arranged a CLIK, or Klinik Hukum untuk Keadilan, and Yandu at the SLB Negeri Lonrae, or Lonrae Special School in South Sulawesi on June 3, 2015. Preparations were made with the teachers from the SLB to prepare a Perayaan Sayang Anak or PSA, a socializing and play event for the children of families participating in the Yandu and CLIK at the SLB. This was the first event of this type to take place at a SLB and the first time children with disability were specifically targeted and included. It was also the first time that the children with disability played with children who did not have disability at the SLB. Initially, the children were hesitant to play with the children with disability, but once the game started, they all played together happily. In quote, to start with, the children were afraid and some even cried as they had not met or played with the children with disability before. After a while, they started to play together and all the children were very happy. The PSA normally only lasts 2 hours, but this time it went on for 3 hours and the children were all very happy. PEKA staff. The staff and cadre from the PEKA network were uncertain and some were concerned about how best to include the children with disability in the PSA activities. The SLB teachers helped to make ensure that the activities were facilitated in an exclusive way so that all the children happily participated and played together. Overall, the event was a great success. This was the first time that many of the parents had allowed their children with disability to play with others. Generally, the children, due to concerns about stigma and discrimination, are just taken to and from the SLB but do not play with others outside the house. The response from the children with disability varied. Some were more active than the others, although they had to communicate with the support of their teachers. Some of them, children with disability, were still shy as they were not accustomed yet to crowds of people. When the Acto Acti story was started, the teachers translated every role and explained about the activity done in the story. After some time, they found out that almost all the children in the room didn't have any birth certificate yet. The subsequent session was Q&A, or question and answers competition, which was related to card game and Acto Acti story. The participants who could answer the question correctly were given presents by the organizer. Participants seemed to be very enthusiastic to answer to get their prizes, and that included all the children, both those with and those without disability, who tried to answer in their own ways of communicating, which was translated by their teachers. One child with disability answered the question. She was shy and just whispered her answer on the Acto Acti question to her teacher. Initially, the local children from the surrounding SLBN Lonrae felt uncomfortable to get close with students with disability. But after playing, singing, and coloring pictures together, the situation became more warm and the children didn't keep their distance any longer. Senior local government officials and the Member of Parliament or MP attended the Yandu and PSA and interacted with the children and families. This was the first time that these officials had visited the SLB, and for many it was the first time they had, at a personal level, interacted with people with disability. Having heard the event had been sponsored through AIPJ, the MP made a public commitment that in the future the local government should be the ones committing funds to support these events. The SLB principal was pleased that the event had been held at the school and hopes that in the future the government would pay more attention to the school and its pupils. In quotes, express gratitude to PK and the visit of the government officials as this gave new energy to the school. The SLB principal. 16 parents of children with disability participated in the Yandu and obtained birth certificates for their children. 40 children from these schools participated in the Yandu, but their parents did not attend, which meant that the registration of these children could not take place. The strategies that were used. Contractual requirement for PK to include children with disability in the services provided. AIPJ also set targets that PK had to meet. The skills and expertise of professionals in disability from the SLB teachers helped to support inclusive play activities. Networking with DPOs assisted to raise awareness and understanding of mainstream organization. Evidence from research helped raise awareness and understanding on the issue and to determine strategies and activities on disability inclusion. Direct engagement and practical links with people with disability helped raise awareness and understanding and increase confidence of the staff and volunteers from the mainstream organization to interact with the children with disability. The location of the activity meant senior government officials came to the SLB and met parents and children. Powerful advocacy. Factors that supported the positive changes. The commitment of the SLB teachers supporting PK staff and volunteers who lacked experience and knowledge on disability. The resources provided by AIPJ for this Yandu and PSA enabled it to take place at the SLB and in doing so raised awareness of government officials and wider community on disability. The attitudes of the children who, although mixing with the children who have disability was new and for some initially frightening, quickly adapted and played with their peers, which helped the parents, PK staff, and the government officials see the potential of the children with disability and the importance of inclusion. Presence and support of senior government officials and MP should help commitment to inclusion in the future by local government. The standard operating procedures, or SOPs, that have been developed for Yandus make specific reference to the need for the service to be inclusive for people with disability. Factors that did not support the changes as had been expected or created challenges. Distance of the SLB from families' homes meant a large number of parents and children with disability did not participate. Attitudes and understanding of parents of the children with disability meant that many do not see the importance of birth certificates for their children, so did not participate. No local DPOs were present, so awareness raising and local mobilizing families was limited, and it meant it was hard to identify other families where there are children with disability who are not in school. PK staff and volunteers lacked knowledge and experience of engaging with people with disability, so were not very confident initially to facilitate the activities. Third, the changes that have occurred at an organizational level for PK. PECA staff are now more aware and have increased interest to understand more about disability and how to engage with and ensure people, both adults and children, with disabilities can access their services. They are interested to seek ways to engage and work with DPOs if they have a presence in the areas where PECA works. In smaller, more local communities where there are not DPOs, they are interested to find other ways to engage directly with the community to help staff and volunteers to better understand the attitudes, stigma, and discrimination that people with disability experience, and to try and find ways to reduce the barriers and challenges that having a disability creates and may limit or prevent people from accessing and benefiting from services. They recognize that the staff and members of the PECA network need more knowledge and skills to more effectively and confidently include people with disability in their work. PECA has already planned to incorporate some of the lessons learned from this first experience in future Yandus and PSAs. It is also planned to hold some disability-specific Yandus. This will be in cooperation with DPOs. For these events, awareness about the importance and the process for getting legal identity documents will be shared through the DPO networks, and the Yandu will be located in a place that is more local and accessible to the communities where the people are living. There will also be adjustments made to the Yandu process to make sure it is more accessible. The Standard Operational Procedure or SOP for the Yandu now includes requirements about access issues for children and adults with disability. This was developed by the AIPJ Legal Identity Team with inputs from the partners and stakeholders. Fourth, key lessons learned. Staff capacity, skills, and knowledge of disability is important prior to implementing activities. Links by the mainstream organization with DPOs and others with experience and expertise in disability is very important to help strengthen knowledge and skills and in changing awareness and understanding. The negative attitudes and low expectation of parents of children with disability may be a factor that prevents them from seeking legal identity for their children. Physical access and distance from the location of the service is a barrier to people with disability due to factors including mobility access, accessible transports, and the cost of transport. Child-to-child activities can be a very positive in influencing awareness and perceptions about disability. Practical experience and direct engagement with people or children with disability is a very effective way to build awareness, understanding, and skills and give confidence to staff of mainstream organizations. It is important to involve power holders, government, and political due to the influence that they have around decision-making and in their local community. Disability inclusion being part of the SOP increases the likelihood of action being taken and resources being committed.